Right. Today we'll be discussing the project management, but you're asking a question that how the case study will affect. So basically, if you are discussing this project management or conflict or anything, we need to just think in that particular scenario how it will work. Honestly, the 80% things will remain the same. 20% you just have to change according to the scenario. For example, if your company is listed or a very big company, it might be a different one. Or if it is a smaller company like previous one, it was just around 350 employees and we are focused only in one country and one, two cities. That's it. Compared to organization which is in a multinational, thousands of employees and number of different cities.
Okay, the way of answering differs based on the
The
multinational
problem the
organization.
companies are facing, a smaller company and bigger companies, totally different, isn't it?
Differs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
So that's how we have to answer. It's more about business acumen. That's what we need in the case study. We don't need to give theoretical answer, and that's the beauty of CIMA also. If you see other way around, because theoretical things and mugging up is not going to help in your career. You're working now, and most of you are working. Even if it is, let's say, part time or odd jobs, everything is an experience. We should be proud what we are doing. Right? Work is work.
Yeah.
What helps is the practical aspect. Wherever we go, we learn something. And if you're memorizing, especially today, the world is totally changing. Previously, also mugging up never helped. Now it has become automated. For example, we already have long back softwares that can do all the entries. You might have to know the entry to see if everything is done correctly there, but you don't get an extraordinary achievement by just doing the entries or making the financial statement. But how you analyze, how you add value to the organization, that matters. Usually what's happening, I mean, this is for your career also and your exam as well. People think I am finance person or I am in reporting, I'll just do my job. Or if I'm in FPM, NA, if I'm in risk, internal audit, just specific to my thing. They don't know the entire company they are working in. They don't even know what are the revenue models my company is earning. If it is for profit, non for profit, that will make a difference. For example, Arvind, you're working for a county, right? Cricket. So it is non for profit. If they keep on
Yeah.
showing the profit, it's not where that's what they're expecting for. They need to show value for money. They need to show they are helping more people, the stakeholders. And usually it is for profit. So for profit, if they just say they're helping a stakeholder, it won't work. Ultimately, they need to show the bottom line, the profits, right? But
Yes. Yes.
whether it's for profit or non-profit, they will have financial goals. So we need to work on the financial goals because we have salaries, we have overheads, isn't it? So
Yeah.
this is very important for all of you. Wherever you are working, try to understand their business model. And especially in today's world, you have so much of easy information available. In fact, we are living in an era of excess information. So we have to eliminate the information, because if you open YouTube or anything, we'll think like everything is important, but at the end of the day, we'll realize that we got tired and we are confused now. Same thing can happen for a case study also. Even it happened with me when I was preparing. So for case study, you don't get confused. If you go online, everybody can suggest you something. But as we have promised, you will cover everything in the session, and that should be good enough for you to pass. Even this notes, this can be 1,000-page notes, but we have tried to make it very concise because we wanted to make it a smarter approach. Okay. And our session is also mostly about discussions, because in discussions, what type of questions we are asking and discussing is the same thing they'll ask in the exam. And how to write, how to structure. Obviously, writing requires a good typing speed and the structure that we have planned. But at the same time, it needs clarity of thought. For example, if I ask each one of you, will any one of you will struggle to introduce yourself?
No. Miss.
Nobody will, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because obviously you have to write it, not talk it. Just in oral communication. Nobody will do. Why? Because you have a clarity in thoughts. You know your name. You know who you are. Or if I ask you about your own a very close friend, then also yes, you can introduce almost 90%. But if I ask you about something you just someone you just met today, or it's not your friend, you just know him, someone like hi, hello, then it might be difficult. You might have to think, okay, what that person might be doing and everything. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have clarity of thoughts, it's easy to write. Shazia, you are saying in the start about the writing skill. So this lot of writing will happen if you have clarity of thoughts, all of us. And nobody is expecting you to be a super expert, because these things have no upper limit. Let's say project management, we are discussing here in 2 chapters. So these 2 chapters will make you expert? No. Does CIMA expect you to be an expert? No. But you should be having an decent idea what we are doing, and you should also have an decent idea what are the fundamentals of a project. And let's see what are the advantage, disadvantage of having a project leader. What kind of technologies can be used? How technology can have an effect on the project? All of this can make a difference. Okay. Any question? If not, then we can start. So we have Adil also. Hello, Adil, can you hear me?
Hi there. Yeah.
Great. So Adil, we are just starting with today's session. We are doing project management. And Syed has also joined. Hello, Syed.
Yeah, I'm speaking.
You're following, right? And Mohanan, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm okay now.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I hope you are following.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just say again, it's more of discussion. We'll take it in a very informal way. Our session is very casual, pretty much friendly also. We can say, obviously, we don't need to get carried away with our goals, but at the same time, we need to make it very much open. So any kind of question, nobody is judged. Even if it is silliest, everyone is welcome and motivated to ask. Okay. So the concept of project management. Just 1 second. Prasad, you are there, right? Okay. Prasad Ganesh is there. Yeah. So what is project management? You need to know the basic of that. A project has a number of key attributes which differentiates it from a business as usual. So usually what happens, many times, especially in a strategy case study, pre-scene also, they say your responsibility is about special projects and strategic matters, or they'll say business plus projects. So what happens, the primary definition of project is when you do something apart from your usual business. For example, most of you are working or you're a university student. So what you're doing, it's your business as usual. Now writing CIMA, is it your business as usual? No. What is CIMA for you? CIMA Management Case Study is a project for you. Why? Because this is not what you usually do. Are you getting the point? So when we do something extra from a normal work, it becomes a project. But if you ask me, is it a project for me? No, because this is my full time. This is not a project for me. But for you guys, it can be a project. But if I do something outside this can, for example, if I just enroll to a university, that might be a project for me, because that's not something so-called usual for me. So that is one of the primary characteristics of a project. So project is a unique undertaking to achieve a specific objective. Like you guys want to be a CGMA, CIMA members. Hopefully you'll get it in 2026 very soon. That's a unique undertaking. A project has a defined beginning and end. This is important. For example, to live a healthy lifestyle. Is it a project? Very difficult. But if you say like in 6 months, you want to reduce, let's say 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and I want to have 6 packs, or I want to reduce my body fat percentage to 15%, that is a project. It's very specific. Then also you need to have a beginning and end. You should have objective plus beginning and end. Usually we don't have end in our personal projects, and that's the reason we not try to achieve it very hard, or it doesn't get achieved by most of the people, because they don't have an ending in place. Ending is very, very important. That's what I say to you guys also. some of you have joined previously, what I said, have a deadline. Because what happens is every time we end up thinking we have time. I think it's the biggest lie of our lives. We think we have time. We don't have time for anything. So it's better to have a deadline, and whenever we do something, do it with 100% efforts in the first time itself and get it done. There are hundreds of students, even my good friends, they started CIMA 10 years back. They never finish. And still they are okay, I'll do it later. It's not only about CIMA, it becomes a lifestyle. So whenever you do something, or when we take up any new project, make sure we have space for it. Or if you have taken about one project, don't commit to anything else. Recently, I was speaking to one of the directors. He wanted to do CIMA. I said, if you have time, then you come in, and by the time you finish it, 3 months, 6 months, you just have study case study. So don't commit to anything else, because our resources are limited. And what we try to do, we try to mix up everything, and we don't achieve anything. Same thing for the organization here. I'm trying to give it a little bit of personal experience so we can relate. You guys can always, put in your perspective to that. So beginning and end is very, very important. Then a project has resources like staff and funding allocated specifically for the length of the project. So if you see this management case study as a project, you have a resource. For example, this class is one of the resource. This notes, what you're seeing on the screen, is a resource. Then we'll do mock correction, that is a resource. Then time, you guys might have dedicated that 2 hours daily I'll study. That is also a resource. All of you can have a similar objective, a specific objective. But do you think all of you will have the same resources? No. For example, Apple and Samsung are competing for a specific target market or a phone in particular range. But do they have specific resources? No. Apple can be superior in technology, but Samsung can be better off in terms of fund. Samsung is such a big company. Electronic is just less than 1% for them. Samsung is South Korea. South Korea is Samsung. They are so big, right? So when we are doing project, we should also know the resources. Many times what happened, the end date might change and the entire resources required can be changed as well. Very rare it can be preponed, it can be done before time. If you look at a global project, we can look at the Olympics. So 2020 Olympics that happened in Tokyo, because of COVID, it went postponed to 2021. And we just see the cost overrun, I think it was 15-20% the cost overrun happened. So usually when the end changes, the required resource also changes. The project will also have stakeholders, all those who have interested in the progress and final outcome of the project. So usually the stakeholders can be the users, let's say the client, or sometimes it's not the client. Let's say you're running for non-for-profit. So another company is giving a sponsor is, let's say companies are putting money as CSR, government is giving you money, but your primary customer or beneficiary is what? It's normal population. They are not the one paying for it. Then other stakeholders can be bank. Nowadays, social media influencers or media is in normal, they also have become a stakeholders. Then a project will inevitably have some degree of uncertainty. This is very interesting. What is uncertainty? There's a difference between the word risk and uncertainty, and lead to some degree of risk. A lot of time we get confused. We think risk and uncertainty is same. Will lead to some degree of risk in the deliverables, what we are delivering, and the activities to achieve the deliverables. Before we go forward, I want to know from you guys, if anyone want to answer, what is the difference between the term uncertainty and risk? What is your basic understanding?
Uncertainty is which we could not able to pretend, or we could not able to know what will be happening in your future. Risk is what we know, and then we could able to take some steps to avoid that.
Okay, can you repeat?
Yeah.
I'm not clear. What did you say?
Uncertainties which we could not able to how to say we could not able to
It's unpredictable.
unpredictable, I would say, yeah, as Prasad said, where we could not able to expect what it's going to be happening. But risk is we know like what are the type of risk we will be handling in the particular project if we are working on. So yeah.
And risk can be mitigated through SARA model. I learned. So risk can be mitigatable, and uncertainty which cannot be mitigable, but we can predict uncertainty.
Right. I mean, Tara is more about mitigation, transfer, avoid.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
that? What is the primary difference? For example, I'll give you a hint. When COVID stuck globally, 2019, 2021, we call it uncertain. We are into uncertain, or we can say the current war situation going on in Middle East and everywhere in that area. That is uncertain. We're using the term uncertain. But after things have been improved in terms of COVID, or previously after war, we call it the risk is still there. We don't use the word uncertain. Why? What's the difference?
I would put in this way, the impact what uncertainty brings results to risk maybe.
Okay.
Uncertainty could be something like a once in a lifetime event, that is the probability of which to repeat is very less compared to risk. Like if there's some financial risk, it is more likely to, like, you can predict it. Suppose if there's a customer who is always a late payer or something like that, you can predict, okay, this customer might pay less. But if some other customer suddenly goes into bankruptcy or something, maybe that you can't predict, and that could be uncertainty. I don't know if I'm making sense, but something on those terms.
All right. So, yeah, anybody else want to answer?
Yeah, just like all of them said, uncertainty, like in an easy example, I could say is if I'm wanting to invest and I'm uncertain about the market, but I do know the risks of the market, that it could lead to a financial gain or a financial loss. But there is some uncertainty to it. I cannot say what the world will be like tomorrow. There could be something like COVID again, which ruins the market. That's an uncertainty again. So that's how I see it related to project management.
Got it. Okay. So most of you make sense, but if you look at the exact definition, it's not about project management alone. So basically, the primary difference between risk and uncertainty is risk is something which we can quantify, and uncertainty is something which we cannot quantify. For example, now COVID, we have enough information, we have got some vaccine, and we know to what efficacy and efficiency it has. So it has become a risk situation. But uncertainty is when it came first time, we don't know anything about it. Like current war situation in Middle East, that is uncertain because we don't know how long it will go and how much the oil price has gone up. Is it gone up in UK also? Because I've seen in the US.
Yeah, it has
Yes, yeah.
15 p, I guess.
How much is it now? Sorry.
I think 175.
175. Okay. Yeah. So we can see that. So that is uncertain. So nobody can tell what will the price in a week's time, month's time. Why? Because it's uncertain. But if we see that in normal situation something is happening, it will be a risky situation. So the primary difference is quantification. That's the reason the whole world is obsessed with data. For example, there is a company called marketing companies. Most of the, not just one company, most of the marketing companies, what they are doing, they're acquiring other businesses just to have data. And if they have data, they are doing very much personalized marketing. For example, YouTube, if you all open YouTube, will get different level of advertising. It has become so much tailored that whatever we need, we are getting it. For example, now WhatsApp has also started. Yesterday, I was thinking it was a little bit scary also. And we know that Meta's reputation is not so good with the privacy. It has started giving advertisement, and it's so precise. I was looking for a bed sheet, and looking for a cotton, and the same thing came up. Just one advertisement, and it is for that. And why they are so precise? Because of the data. So they don't want uncertain situation to market anything. I'm sure all of you have experienced that. They want to do it very much target. And from that, they know the conversion rate will be high. So what they did, the marketing companies, they converted uncertainty to risk. You're getting the point? Then other thing is, when we are into business, we should go for risk, because without risk, there is no return. Or technically, we can say higher the risk, higher the return. However, we should not go for uncertain situation, because if you go for uncertain situation, it can be a very big problem. We don't know how much we can lose. We have a well-settled business, that entire thing can be lost just because we went into uncertain situation. But whereas risk, you are quantifying and you know how much we can lose. Let's say if you invest $1,000 in a stock, you can lose the entire 1,000. That's a risk. But if you go in a contract by just putting 1,000, you sign something without understanding the things, maybe it can affect your current business. Let's say it says, which we didn't read, I'm just assuming, that if you don't pay, you have to pay from other liabilities, or there is no wheel between your personal asset and company's asset or liabilities. All of this, that can have consequences. So project will have some level of uncertainty. But now this sentence can be a little bit confusing. I went into definition. What it says this, the project will inevitably have some degree of uncertainty, as the uniqueness of it will lead to some degree of risk. So basically what they are saying, as every project is different, like the first word itself, the first point itself, the project is unique. So when things are unique, definitely it will have some level of uncertainty. I'm sure you guys might have think about, again, the CIMA. Obviously, we'll do mocks and all, but you might have that 1%, 0.1% of confusion. We'll try to clarify that, but uncertainty will be there. And it will be there until you clear the exam and everything is sorted. But some is acceptable. But if you have more, especially uncertainty, we are not going ahead with it. Risk, yes, because we are aware what we can lose. But uncertainty, no. For example, let's say you got a packet of chips or a candy, something. Let's take two scenarios. Both are in plastic bag. One has a table of content at the back, or the ingredients, the 2000 calories, this much fat, carbohydrates and everything. And the other one is just the bag, same packing, and even you can see that the chips inside is the same color. So which one you will choose? If the first one has nothing, it's 100% plain. Let's say you are buying it
With
from
the content.
Yeah, the content one. Let's say you're buying from supermarket, because if it is for the person, then you might have trust from that person. So, or maybe from an unknown place you're taking. So the one with the, why? Because it might have sugar, it might have unhealthy content, but you know the risk. But in the first situation, you don't know anything. It might have a poison. That's uncertain. So same thing for the business. Uncertainty, avoid it. Risk, accept it. And again, when you talk about risk, the things can go deeper. So we have 2 chapters of risk in P2. That can be discussed later. Because every organization can have a different level of risk appetite, like what they can digest. And appetite is made up of the risk capacity, what we have, and also the attitude. Usually when the CEO of the company, the board of directors change, the entire company's attitude will change, because ultimately it's individual's attitude. For example, if you see Elon Musk and his companies, they have extreme high attitude towards risk. And imagine if that change, what will happen? It won't work in a similar way. Make sense? So what we'll be doing as an exercise, once our pre-scene is out, it will be out obviously this week in few days. We'll come up with 30-40 risk, at least 30 risk. What our organization is facing, what is the likelihood of impact of that, and how we can manage that. That will be our plan. And obviously, before doing that, we'll have to discuss risk in detail. But now back to the topic, project management. So project management is the managing of the work of a team or teams to achieve specific goals and objectives. The team will be put together for the sole purpose of achieving the project goals and objectives and will be disbanded after the completion of the project. Remember, we discussed team in the previous topic. So team effectiveness is usually higher when we disband. I was giving you an example of a cricket team. So usually what happens when the tournament is done, now World Cup is done, T20 World Cup is done, and now another Asian Cup or anything else is coming, there will be a different team. For test is different, one day is different, T20 is different. For any sport team, football also, if you see every championship. Why? Because it improves the effectiveness. And we need different skill, different conditions. Now, project constraint. What are the normal problems we have in project? Or we can say the project triangle. Maybe you guys have heard it. This is everywhere. You know, this is basic of project management. If you just understand this triangle, you have done most part of the project. So usually the project can be divided into three. Interdependent thing, it is also known as project triangle. So one is time, second is cost, third is quality. Basically, all three are interconnected: time, cost, and quality. So obviously, how much time it takes will affect the quality and the cost. I just gave you the example of Tokyo Olympics. What happened? The time goes up. When the time goes up, the cost also went up. Maybe quality they have control. So usually, if one changes, at least it will have an effect on the second one. Or we can say ideally it will have effect on the other two also, but at least one another one. It is impossible that it just change the cost, but it doesn't change the time and quality. Definitely not. Let's say we have invested the resources. What will happen? Maybe resources to automate it, and you want to reduce the time, so time might come down. And maybe cost also, sorry, the quality also we are trying to reduce or maintain. That doesn't matter. Or if you want a higher quality, what will happen? We might have to invest higher resources. If you're looking for something cheap, usually, obviously, that's not an option. But if you're looking for something cheap, we might do at lower cost and a lesser time. But if you want to do something decent or higher quality, the time and cost can keep on going up. But at the same time, there is not an upper limit. Let's say construction of house. How much time it can take to construct a house? Let's say you are making it from the scratch. I'm asking you guys, how much time it will take?
A couple of years at least.
Couple of years. Let's say 2-3 years.
Yeah, probably 2-3 years.
Okay.
No, it takes lesser, and it also depends on the money you have. If you have more money, it is more faster.
Just the money.
Yeah, mainly money.
There are so many things interdependent on construction now, like finding the lenders, finding the vendors who you're going to make things from, getting the people to work. So many things are dependent, and that's on time again.
Right. Right. You guys might have heard about 3D printing, right?
Yeah,
3D printing technology that is being used to make houses. You know in how much time they'll make a house?
3
Less
days,
than
2 to
24
3
hours.
days. Yeah.
Less than a day, they'll make a complete house. So, and at the same time, there are houses that takes, like you said, 2 years, 3 years. So that's an ideal example of the project. The same thing is taking 1 day, and the same thing can take 2 years or even more. So it all depends upon what we are looking for, what we are trying to achieve. So every project is unique, and what we are trying to achieve is also unique. And when you want to do it in 24 hours, obviously we have invested more, because if you go for latest technology, then the cost has to go up. Maybe the quality will also affect. Sometimes it can go up, sometimes it can go down as well. But what we have said with 3D printing is the time. But when you say 2-3 years, you are looking for maybe a bungalow, a villa, a mansion. So your primary thing is quality. then obviously you are flexible with the time and the cost. So one thing you have to stick first, the other two variables will get affected. Project life cycle. Project usually goes through this need, solution, implementation, completion. Need is basically at the first what and how you are trying to do. The clear objective should be there. For example, if you're making a house, how big, how many, let's say family of 6, family of 5, and how many guest room you need. All of this should be very, very clear. Because many times what happened, the objectives what we have in the start, there is a probability it might change towards the end or in between. What design of the house you want in the start, but if somebody give you a better offer, or especially with the house, if you look at personal level, it can be emotional. So we want for the best. It's a one time in life, so things might change. But as a company, if you're looking at, because they'll ask you mostly from the company, the emotions involved are less. The chances of changing from the objectives or deviating from them is less, but still that can happen. So that's where that need comes in. Okay. Then need a solution. Developing a comprehensive solution, creating a detailed project plan, budget, and schedule with allocated resources. Then implementation. Execute a plan by building, testing, and deploying the project deliverables, managing resources and quality. So this is where the actual things come in. Implementation. Then finally, the completion. Finalize the project by delivering to customer, conducting a performance evaluation, complete all closing out documents. Many times this completion is not done, so it can affect the next project. Or the need was not very clearly identified, so we don't know whether it is complete or not. So pretty much logical. And honestly, I want you to answer in the exam also in your own words, in a logical way. No need to use a textbook language. Just give a simple English. Many times I have seen students, most of us doesn't have English as our first language. So you might think that I need to be very great in our vocabulary and everything. So that's not correct. Most of the students writing these exams, like, more than 150 countries or almost 200 countries, 190, whatever we say. Most of the countries, people are writing CIMA exams. And they don't have their language first as English, right? So if you write something simple that makes sense, that's enough. Okay. It's always better. Well, there are two things. Individual paper, if you're writing E2, then they will go in very much deep about project. The case study, what we are preparing, they will not dig in very much deep. For example, now some of you have done FLP. So you'll see in E2 what type of question they ask related to project. But in the case study, they won't ask that much detail. They are looking more for a practical scenario, more applied thing for a business model. Okay. End of project review meetings, what does it include? An opportunity to discuss or opportunity to review the planning, management, reporting, control. Whenever we are doing something at the end, why we do it? Why we invest our time? Obviously, we want to learn for the future. Then opportunity to discuss the success and failure of the project process. Many times what happened, the project is not 100% successful, or maybe it's not 100% failure. So out of, let's say, if you want the effectiveness out of 1 to 10, we might say 6, 7, maybe 5. So when you decide which category we put in, if it is more than 5, we'll put in success. If it is less than 5, we'll put in failure. Then to establish what can be learned in future for the benefit of other projects. Then opportunity for project manager to discuss with individual team members their role in the project and means by which they could improve their own performance on future projects. You must be aware, a lot of finance people, they do masters or MBA in project management. So what they are trying to do is they just dig in deep in all of this specific things. Now, the external review, basically the end user, the customer, crucial aspect of project closure, an important part of establishing whether the product satisfied the customer. The difficult problem is when you have to satisfy the customer who is actually not the payer. For example, if you have paid for certain services, okay, and you are the one who is using it, so it's easy. But imagine somebody else is using it. It can be very difficult. How do you think we can find out the customer satisfaction? Especially for non-for-profit. So that's where this thing can happen. Even CIMA is non-for-profit, but if you are paying for your exam fees, if you are paying for your subscription, everything, you are still getting the services. But in charities in other places, it may be totally different. How do you think we can evaluate that? I'm asking you guys. Hello?
Mr. Can you repeat?
Yeah, brother, I'm saying like, how do you think we can establish whether the end consumer is happy with the project, the user, especially when they are not the one paying for it? Like government hospitals, government schools.
We can take the reviews from them.
Okay. Just the review.
Yeah, review and feedback and many things. But right now I'm recalling only reviews and feedback.
Yeah, review and feedback is one. Another thing is first we need to see what problem we wanted to solve. Did we solve it or not? If it is a school, quality
Right,
education.
right.
If it is hospital, quality healthcare.
Right, right.
If the primary thing is done, rest all can take place. The utility we can say that should be the first priority. Then obviously we are looking to obtain feedback to help improve future projects. When customer can voice any concern regarding how the project was carried out, how we can manage that.
Nita, I want to ask this concept. Can we relate to our P2 like cost of quality, non-conformance cost, like internal failure and external
Comments,
failure?
right? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, if you do, this is also like TQM, total quality management and all. If you do
Right,
the
right.
first correctly, then it will be easier. For example, now if you guys going for exam, if you do work hard and if you work smartly, we have planned for it. It's in terms of finance also it will be economic for you. Even effort wise also it will be easier for you rather than doing it again when the new case study comes or the syllabus changes and everything. Same thing in manufacturing, because if you give something which is faulty, then you have to recall it, and recalling can be very expensive, plus it can be a reputational risk as well. So cost of quality is much cheaper than cost of redoing it.
Right, right.
That's what this total quality management, Kaizen, costing, all of,
Bottlenecks and
yes,
right.
most of these Japanese concept they are saying is get it right first time. If other companies are cutting corners, we should not cut corners. In fact, we should do a little bit extra so that we don't have to redo it. I mean, it's very easy to say, but most of the companies are going through product recall, or they go through product recall at some point of time. Yesterday, also, I was looking at one company. I'm not trying to recall. It was a water bottling company. They're selling water or something. Maybe Nestle or Unilever was the parent group. But anyways, they have to recall the products. And whenever they have a major recall, that year their profit, everything will go for toss. It's a very big risk, very big problem
Yeah.
for them.
And we usually see this recall in the car industry, like Volkswagen Group. You must heard about it.
Right. Volkswagen has that issue.
Huh.
Recently, BYD has that issue. They have to recall cars.
So
Or
it's
what?
a major cost of company to recall the product.
Or we can say it. You guys might have experience with Amazon. It's very rare, but you might get wrong products sometimes. Did anyone experience that?
Yeah, experience.
What was the feed? What did the company do to you if you go to customer care?
They give you a right product, but they don't charge of that product.
And what about the previous product, the wrong one?
They said you can take because the return cost will be higher for them.
Very good. So you have got a free product plus you're getting your own product.
Right, right, right.
Normally, what will happen? We'll think, okay, company will send someone else, they'll pick it back. And it's not just for a cheaper, but even a decent product. I'm not saying very expensive, but a little bit decent. They'll still say you can keep it. The first reason, as you said, is the cost. Other person going up, picking it up, and all the reverse logistic, then accounting and so many things. It is a challenge for the company. So when they do the cost and benefit analysis, it makes sense to deliver the new one. Secondly, they are making you happy. Don't you feel happy as a customer? You have kept the previous one and you're getting your own
Yeah,
product.
right, right, right.
So it's also like, in a way, they are saying you sorry and please accept this as a gift. Plus, we'll give your original product. And sometimes, obviously, even if it is not delivered or if it is delivered in the wrong place, they don't ask a lot of questions. It's just about the customer experience. Especially Amazon does it. It happened with one of my contact. What happened? He was living in some rented apartment. The Amazon guy came and it delivered to a owner, obviously, because the name and everything was about that person. And this person complained, on the website showing delivered, but I have not received it. Then they delivered him the new one. They didn't ask a lot of questions and nothing like that. Then after a few days, that other person also gave him the product. He have that two of them. They should have scrutinized it. And that time, obviously, I was a little bit naive. I was thinking, why did they do it? When we realized this is for the customer experience. It's not about right and wrong. In life, many times we feel like, okay, we are right, is there a mistake? But when you're in business, you just have to feel like the other person is in emotion. And cost of acquiring a customer is very expensive. It's very higher. What do you call it? Like CAC, customer acquisition cost, is higher than retaining a customer. So maybe it's a smaller loss, but we can retain the customer. So there are certain metrics. These companies are very clever. There's first CAC, customer acquisition cost. Then they have LTV, lifetime value of a customer. So if the lifetime value is higher than the acquisition, obviously they will do it. And they have so much of research which shares across industries. Retaining customer is easier than acquiring new one. Therefore, wherever we go, they're asking for your email ID and numbers. In fact, it's not legal or mandatory, but we feel like we're obliged to pay for it. Give it. It is for their benefit, not for ours. Make sense? So
Yes.
try to relate to your own experiences, and that will be very easy. You'll not have pressure to remember the concept. And if you give this kind of example, in fact, the good news is in CIMA exam, if you give real world example, you can get 1 extra mark. So it's a fictional company, what they'll ask. But if you relate to the real world, it will be really good. And honestly, if I tell you, I have seen your pre-scene. It's not publicly out. We are working on material. You'll get in few days. But trust me, this is one of the most exciting pre-scene. I was not accepting this thing to come in, but it's really interesting. You'll like it so much. In fact, it's a very good business model also if somebody wants to do it. But you'll enjoy. It's not like a traditional manufacturing or traditional service. This is something which usually get ignored. Even I was a little bit shocked to see the numbers and how big that industry is growing. Now moving on to the final project report, project overview. Basically, report is what? Report is basically a summary, isn't it? So these are just the thing: overview, customer requirement deliverable, receivable deliverables, actual achievement, objective achievement, like how much we have achieved, future consideration. Imagine in the exam you get a question about what include in the final project and you forget these headers. So what you should write? You should write basic things. For example, logical, what comes to your mind? What was the goal and what we achieved? Where you want to go and where you have reached? How it can help for the future? How satisfied the stakeholders are? Did we receive in the time? Simple. If these points also you raise, that's it. Then the purpose of closing stage of the process or project closing cycle. Let's zoom in what all it includes. Ensure completion. The first and the most important thing is ensure completion. We should not leave it halfway. Many times the project are standstill in halfway. You guys might have noticed. And especially these are projects with the government. They're making a rail project, road project, especially in developing country. Like in India, we have seen that. In other developing countries also is there. Even other countries, if they have a very big project, there is a high chance it will be stopped in between. Compare outcomes, what you wanted to, evaluate performance, analyze cost. Usually, out of the three things, time, cost, and quality, at least one can over most of the case. Let's say 80% of the case. The time taken is more, the cost involved is more, or either the cost, the quality, what you expected, or the cost of quality was more. So analyze the time, evaluate management, how well the company managed. So basically, management skills are very, very important. Again, if you go to our basic example of house, you have the project ready. Will you get all the inventory at once? Let's say it's a plot of land. You'll start with the basic construction. Will you order your steel and your paints on the first day?
No.
Obviously, no. The paints will come towards the end. So who is now? This is a very basic example, but imagine a very complex project. So when the paint should come in, then which paint, and obviously the tiles and all of that. It's very specific. Though the skill of a manager here, when we say manager, the person is a project manager, is extremely important. Their experience, then obviously they are using the software and all of that. This is what they are referring to in evaluating the management. Then identify problems, recognize and document issues encountered. Because what happened when we do risk management? For example, if we sit together and look at discuss major risk what we can face during house construction, do you think we can get 100% of that? Or anything we are doing, let's say we take up a project, do you guys think we can get 100% of the risk what we can encounter? No, right? Why? Because risk will not come informed. Will make the risk list based on a normal scenario. For example, oil price going up. Do you think this was a part of the list of risk for most of the companies? I don't think so. Especially extreme fluctuation. So when you make a risk list or highlight, we are considering a normal situation. For example, what clothes we have, it is for the normal cold temperature. Even if it's snow, if you talk from UK perspective, how low the temperature can go, minus 10 degree, 12 degrees. If you don't have something which is minus 20, minus, around that. Or even if we look at how hot it can get, isn't it? Well, if you see the homes are also made according to the temperature we can face across the year. So in short, the risk management what we have is in a normal situation, but usually we'll face more risk or more problems also we can say during the journey or during the project journey, project life we can say. Then complete termination, finalize project and activities and documentation, provide feedback what you've done, learn from experience to apply in the future projects. So closure is not the end. It is setting up a base for the next success. Any question?
No, it's clear from my side.
Just one second. Where do you think will require more expertise in this circle? Which of this step you feel is the most difficult? Can be more difficult.
I'd say evaluate management, where you're dealing with a lot of different people, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely that can be one of the most difficult, because if you're evaluating other managers' performance, the evaluating person should be very qualified and experienced. And how we can solve that problem?
It's like probably with the previous steps there, where we analyze time, where we analyze costs, and we get the need generated well. So we have a good solution in place so that we can implement this better. So we have a solid solution for it before we start implementing and managing things, I think.
Right. That can be one way. That's correct. Or we can keep on training our employees, or we can have extra resources. Because what happens when we plan? Let's say if I ask you what's your plan for the week, all of you can give a very optimistic answer, including me. But how much we achieve that? Some of us might achieve it 90%. Some of us might achieve only 50%. Isn't it? Because people make a plan for today or tomorrow, whatever, or the entire week. It's very optimistic when we write something. But when we do practical, the execution is lower. Same thing happened with the project. We are very optimistic with the time, cost, and quality. So we need to keep some place, some flexibility, some buffer time, so that things become more practical. Or there is one saying that we have to plan for our plan not going according to the plan. Therefore, we also need some kind of pessimistic approach. Optimistic or optimism is really good, but things will not work that way, because the world is not running to make your project successful, right? World will run and take its own course, or world, or you can say the industry.
Is that what's called a contingency plan?
Yes, definitely. Contingency planning is one of the keyword we can use here. Contingency, or a certain concept, we call it scenario planning. We plan for the scenarios, unexpected scenario that might occur, and we keep some resources for that. Or in certain concepts, like stress testing, we are ready for some extra stress that can come in. Or this is where we say, like, transfer of risk. We go to insurance companies, then insurance companies go to another reinsurance companies. So everyone wants to have that little bit of peace of mind, because if something worst happened, because normal day-to-day problems we are able to solve, but if something extreme happens, in the worst case, companies will go to the government to help them. Like in the UK during COVID, government was paying up to 60-70% of the salaries of an employees, right? So that nobody loses a job. Then later on, they increase the taxes and they're recovering it. But still, they help in the right time. So eventually, government can come to rescue, but it's very rare. But we should have contingency planning. We should have a flexibility. We should have extra resources, because when we plan, we are very optimistic. But most of the time, there will be so much more Then post-completion audit. A few months after the end of the project, a meeting of managers, users, and developers is held. This is designed to review the success of the project as a whole, as well as to receive the users' feedback on it, how they have time to judge it. So basically, post-completion audit to see that we have achieved the target, but primarily for the next project. You see the first point itself, benefit. More realistic. Why more realistic? Because we are too optimistic in usual with the cost and revenues. Enhance understanding or of project failures. Improve future decision making and project management performance. You know, many times when we go for work, or in fact, not many times, almost every time, they ask for experience. Why? Because with experience, our decision making changes. Because how we look at things. In fact, if you see as a person, also we are evolving every month. And now, if you have moved to a different country, your experience changes. And as your experience changes, your decision making also changes. For example, if you're going to a new country, you might feel like, okay, only the positive sides you will see. Once you go there, you'll understand, oh, there are a lot of negative side as well. Because there is no things which just have the positive side, right? It will always have a downside. So decision making will change with the experience. Therefore, when companies are hiring, especially with the managerial role, they need experience, and they need experience from the same industry. Especially if it is a board of directors, senior finance manager, definitely just professional qualification, 15-20 years of experience somebody has. If they tick all the bracket, but they are not from the industry, they won't hire. In fact, if you want to go one step ahead to grow in the career, what I was following now, and I read also a lot of places, you have to choose certain industry which you like. Let's say you can choose 2-3 industries which is growing in your country where you want to work. Let's say real estate is there, healthcare is there, education is there. And if you stick to that industry in most of your career, what will happen? Slowly you'll become an expert in the industry. So very few people will be there who can replace you in that particular skill. For example, CIMA qualification, all of you are CIMA qualified, but you are working in different industry. Imagine a lot of people are changing every 2 years to different industry, but you're sticking to the same industry 10 years, 15 years, or just 2-3 industries, which you like, which is growing. What will happen? Automatically, you'll become rare in that skill. You're like carving out your own niche for your career. Are you getting the point? And that we can see in the decision making. Because there is no upper limit how well we can make the decision. Because sometimes the strategy what companies are following is totally out of the box. I'll give you one example of marketing, how out of the box can work. So usually what happens is nowadays things have become online. So offline marketing has become even easier for the companies, because still some companies send offline mail. You must be getting a lot of mail to your address, right? Physical envelope. And many times is advertising. So what happened? We look at the mail and we can just throw it. We never open also, or sometimes just open and throw it. So recently what one company did, and I saw also, they send a dollar note into that thing, $1 actually physical cash. Then the person, he actually, when he was shocked, why somebody will send me the money, that too physically, because now everything is online. Then he opened, it was a marketing thing. They are trying to sell something, but to motivate that person to open, imagine in $1 they might have not given any kind of gifts and anything, because in US $1 will not get anything with this kind of inflation, right? But they motivate the person to open it, then see the company name, and obviously they would have gone some sales also through that, or at least some customer acquisition, compared to giving anything of $1 or making a flyer or something which is very attractive. It is all about attention. So things like this will work. And how this smart decision making will come? With experience. With experience plus education and all of that. And that's the reason CIMA also wants you to be a decision maker. Therefore, leadership skill is very important. Whether they ask or not in the exam question directly, you have to make a decision. In fact, indirectly, they'll always ask. if conflict question they're asking. So you have to make a decision ideally what you're doing. If project management question is asking, eventually you have to answer whether you're going ahead with that or not. So people skill and leadership skill is very important. And in fact, that's very important with your career as well. Then key areas of post completion audit. These are just extra, scope, achievement, quality standard, benefits. This we have added extra risk assessment. Anyways, then configuration management and change control. So change management is another thing that is very important. So if you see globally, if you look at countries, if you look at organization, if you look at individual, we all are constantly going through change. In fact, the only thing constant in our lives is change, right? But the irony is, the funny part is, we don't like change. As a human being, you want to, for example, eat on the same place. We like to sit and work in the same chair. We want to sleep in the same room, the same bed, and we have some of our comfortable clothes. We want to wear that. Some of our comfortable food, we want to eat that. Why? Because human mind doesn't like change. But at the same time, change is that is happening every time. But what happens, even if you see at individual or at a company level, when we change on our own, things become easier because change is uncomfortable. Most of the people as in I am relating to business also, they change when it is forced from outside. For example, let's say you just have offline stores, but no, everything or everyone in your company industry has went to online and they are doing, let's say, online delivery also. You are forced to it, otherwise you have to close your business. Then you say, okay, I'll go on. But at the same time, some companies will be like, okay, the things have started online. I mean, let's say this example can be 10 years back, or nowadays it can be having your own delivery partners. So for them, you have to do it even if others are not doing. So change is always better if you do on your own as a business, rather than the market is forcing you. If the market forces you, we already lose the market share, or we are just fighting to survive. But if you change on yourself, you are fighting to win. You're fighting to dominate. Same thing as an individual employee. Like some of you are working, some of you just graduated. So you have taken a conscious choice to study this. This is uncomfortable and obviously it's like also a change. But if you choose this, it can help. If not, also we can survive. Life will not end for any one of us. You guys specifically, you have done masters, you have done this experience, might you'll get something. But this uncomfortable change can help to grow. So same thing with the business. When we go through this project, it will definitely bring a change into the organization, especially when we are closing it. If it is a new way of working, that can be uncomfortable. So many organizations, they are not comfortable with the change, so they will struggle. I'll again give back an example to Tesla because I personally know it. One of my cousin, he got a job there and he was not ready to join. I was a little shocked. I asked him why Tesla, it's a dream company. He said they work like a startup, and startup is like constantly changing, and they can fire the employees anytime. From the employee perspective, it was difficult to work, but if you see from company's perspective, they are doing good job. They are ready for the change because startups are ready for the change because they are struggling to survive. But on the other hand, when companies become comfortable, they have grown up, they have revenue, they have retained earnings, they become slower. They don't want to change, and that can lead to a slow progress, or they will not become an industry leader. Make sense? So change may rise from internal external factors and can often change the outcome of the project. It is therefore important to have an agreed change management process. Therefore, companies need to make a policy, procedure, and ideally, in ideal world, in ideal working environment, they should make a culture which is change adapt, which is always ready to change. It's very difficult, but if they do it, it can make an organization successful. What can be the problems? if we are not managing change, will not achieve our objectives. End users can be unhappy. It can end up costing more. Why it can end up costing more? What is the logic behind this sentence? What do you guys think? Why being not adaptable or not changing can cost us more?
I think because there's always something new, there's always a new need developing among people, and then we need to, as a project, provide for it, make sure the needs are met. If not, there's another competitor. If not, there's somebody else who is providing something better. Maybe.
All right, that's correct. Anything else? Others? You want me to call name Syed? Syed, you are very silent today. I hope you are not at work.
Yeah, it's visible.
You are at work?
Yeah, now I'm in office.
Okay, okay. No problem. You can put in chat. Mohanan, Ganesh, Arvind and team. Why it will cost more if you are not flexible? Just give a logical answer. So basically, when we are not flexible, we are kind of, let's say you have agreed for a supplier. Now you got a cheaper supplier with the same level of quality. So don't you think flexibility can save cost? Yes. Then second is, if you are having cost overrun, shall we think of innovative design where the utility is maintained but the cost is not that much? That is also there. Then we might need to restructure the team because uh, obviously the culture is a different, or maybe the employees are not that effective, or some of the key employees have resigned. So many problems can come in, right? So if we are rigid, it can be a problem, and that's what happened many times. We lose the focus why we want to do it. We get into so much of distractions, or many times it can be ego involved of the directors. That can also affect the change. It can cause confusion and conflict for the project manager or project stakeholders. Successful change implementation can be prioritized, authorize, agree, record, communicate. Then configuration management includes version control of documentation. Basically, we have to update. Latest configuration should be there. These are more of a documentation. They won't ask you like what includes in configuration management in your exam. Okay. This is just like you can say we should have a proper configuration. This can include configuration management, version control, ownership and responsibility of documentation, authorization, monitoring, access control. Technically, you have to document everything and you have to make it accessible to the stakeholders. Sometimes what happens, the project director itself will resign. Project manager can resign. Or if it's not resign, they can get an accident. Unfortunately, rare situation that person can die also. Or have any other medical issue. So we need not to depend on any particular individual. You have to plan for the worst. So when you look at control system, it's most like an iceberg. Just the tip on the top, but there is so many things down here. Reporting, meeting, recommendations, plan, deviation, prevention, all of those. Project reports and project meetings that can also help to understand, like exception reports, team meetings, progressive review meetings, other meetings. Technically, we have to communicate to the some projects can take very long, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So the team can lose motivation. So what we have to do, we have to give them updates, what we have achieved, how much percentage we have achieved. We have to generate short-term wins. We have to motivate them. Or sometime if you face certain problems, the team can get demotivated, to make them back on track, or change their incentive, or give them additional incentives, give them award, reward, make a or work like a goal congruence. Everyone feel like a team. They feel respected. They feel welcome. They feel like contributing. They feel like ownership. For example, many times, let's say it's a physical infrastructure, building or a bridge. You must have noticed they put a note when the work is done, which engineers were involved or who are the key employees involved. You must have noticed, right? It's a common practice around the world. So that is also like giving sense of pride. They want to show to their family, friends, which make, and also if you think psychologically, it will improve the quality. Imagine you are involved in something, okay, and it will be in public place and you'll have your name for it. They'll put your name on that. So what do you think? How it will affect you? Hello? Should I repeat the question?
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
yes.
Let's say there is maybe it's not a bridge. Let's say anything is constructed in the town center, downtown, we can say, or city center, whatever you want to call it. And you are part of the construction, and they'll put your name also. You are like a key employees of working of that. It may be in any architecture, as simple as a fountain, or anything like where people come and take picture. So, and you are part of the project, and they promise you that your name will be there on the project. So how it will change your perspective as an employee or as a part of the project?
I will probably take more ownership. I'll try to give the best outcome possible for
Why?
that.
Why you'll take more ownership?
Because I would feel that the company is rewarding me and they're, understanding my efforts and hard work to it. And it's a reward at the end of the day, I feel.
Right. So it's not financial reward, but it is non-financial.
Yeah, it would make me feel better. It would give me more
A sense of
satisfaction,
pride.
I would say.
Okay. What else? Others? Think as if
think-
in one scenario without name, another scenario your name is there. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we
Mohan,
feel proud, so we will work hard. Yeah.
you'll feel proud, so you work hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Others, Shazia. Think about the negative side also, the fear also.
We will be more careful because if something goes wrong, it will come on us.
Right. So one school of thought can be about the motivation and pride, maybe a little bit of ego massage. But on the other hand, it will be fear. Fear like if it goes bad, then people will mock the individual's name, like mock you as in that case, or your family and friends are seeing that, and maybe it's permanent. It's not just going away anytime. Anybody visit there, they will notice it. Or nowadays, people don't need to visit also. You'll just take a picture and post on social media. So it might have a permanent thing. It's like a legacy. The next generation, in the future, if your kids go there, they can also see that. So if your parents are there, your siblings are there, everyone will be looking at it. So in a way, the company is creating a positive pressure. I'm using the word positive pressure, where positively, they are motivating people to do something. And people might think, this is like a legacy building. This is not just for money, because money you might lose in the living expense, but this is like a legacy, and it should be that project. So that's another way we can communicate and get the project done effectively. Whenever you make it as a manager, your one skill you need to know is company goal should be transferred as an employee's goal. Everyone should take the ownership, and obviously it should done in an ethical way. If you're trying to manipulate your team, people are very clever, they'll understand it, and they won't stay just for the money. If you're paying 10%, 20% in the market share, market rate, you have to give them something above and beyond that, a purpose, especially the younger generation. The younger generation, like you who are working, you want to get associated with the company which is sustainable, who are ethical, right? Who is actually taking care of the society and the environment. And you should feel proud to talk about it on social media, especially on LinkedIn, because for working, it's more about LinkedIn, right? You want to highlight, okay, I'm associated with that group. And people should, or your friends, family, the society you are in, you should get motivated by that. Recently, certain companies, what they were doing for their employees, they are congratulating them on Manhattan, New York. We have that circle. What's that called? I'm just Manhattan downtown. We have all this, right? What's the street name?
Wall of Fame. Not sure. Is that the one?
It's not. It's not Wall of Fame where we have. Anyways, the downtown is there. We have all that marketing happening. So they're displaying picture of their employees, and obviously people were sharing that on social media. So that also helps. Then we have project management tools and techniques. Just the extension of that. We have another 30 minutes, so we can do this. Okay. Tools and techniques. So in the 9th chapter, we have seen what is project management. Now, what tools and techniques? Technically, what technology we can use. Before starting, is this the only technology we can use? Definitely no. The things are changing. If you just go online and check, there might be 100 other options. So do you need to remember all of this? The answer is no. But can you remember this and use it as a reference? Yes. Some of this, yes. So don't try to take it in mind and you have to by heart it. Just look at it what it is, or you can. They have given certain examples like which are the major project management techniques or basically software available in the market. You can look at. And nowadays things are getting customized. If you go to a company like Zoho, they'll make a software for you. But now only thing you have to decide is the cost and benefit analysis. If you're getting the benefit for the cost you're doing, and if it does, it's win-win. Remember, sometime before we discussed how data companies investing millions, even certain companies they might go to billions, investing in data company. Like yesterday, I was reading a news. It says that Amazon is trying to raise $100 billion, billion with the B, to make an AI company. And where do you think most of the money will go? It will go for the data, because AI company, what AI needs? Machine learning. They need data, right? So for them, it will be worth it. Therefore, cost and benefit analysis is very important. For some companies, it might look very expensive, but for others, it can be very cheap. In fact, that's what make the difference. Because when some things become expensive, people think, okay, it's not worth it, it's not for me. But obviously, the expensive things can give you even 10x more return. For example, if you invest $100, it might give you 200. But if you invest, let's say, instead of $100, you invested 100,000, it might give 500,000. Because as the number goes up, the multiplication returns also goes higher, right? So that's what company needs to think. So one of the component parts of network analysis is CPA, critical path analysis. It's a commonly used technique in managing projects. Technically, why we are managing project? Because we want to be ready to solve the problems it can face, or we need to have less problems, we can say, or less fluctuations, less hurdles. Can we say we'll have zero hurdles, zero problems, zero uncertainty? No, definitely we'll have. But imagine going unprepared, then having problems, and going prepared, then having problems. So if you're a little bit prepared, obviously you can sustain more, or you'll have less issues. So it can have different steps: analyze the project, draw the network, estimate time and cost, locate the critical path. So what is this locate the critical path? For example, if you have to do hiring, many times it's just temporary. Let's say you're making something with the real estate or a bridge. You don't need full-time employees, or you don't need all the employees all the time. Some employees you might need for 6 months, some for a year, some for 2 years. So you don't need most of the employees as a full-time employee. You can save the cost on that. If you have a detailed plan, if you have a very detailed plan, then only it will be successful. The most complex, or we can say one of the most complex project, I would think, is the Olympics. Because if you see, if any of you follow sports closely, you'll understand any game, how precise they are. And they plan it to a very, I mean, even we cannot say every minute, every second, almost like a second, or less than a minute, there is a plan. So that is extremely complex. And if you can do that, then obviously this software and all of this can help. And from the outside, as an audience, we might think everything is going perfect, but they might face a lot of problems. Maybe their key person never comes up, or some accident happened, somebody got injured, or weather issues can happen, anything can happen. But still, the show must go on. And this happens with every project. Locate the critical path, then schedule the project. Scheduling and everything is done for the week. Monitor and control progress. So one of the most important thing is monitor and control progress. Why? Because it's not like it's a 2-year project and the last month we'll understand, oh, we have missed the deadline. No, the first month itself we'll have an idea whether we are doing it or not. Then second month, okay, how far we have reached. Everything can be, broken down to 2 years. Okay, what we'll do 1 year 50%. First 6 months, how much we are expecting? 25% or 10%, 20%. Then per month, per week, per day, per hour. We can go into very much detail. Then we have to communicate, obviously, to keep the team motivating. Sometimes what happen is, let's say there are 4 variables. In 3 variables, we are doing good. In 1 variable, we are not. But that one individual variable can be a problem there. It is acting like a bottleneck. So we have to invest more resources in that, or remove that bottleneck. And be flexible. That's like revising the plan. What are the advantage of using this? Identify activities, showed dependencies, critical path. Like we have everything on a dashboard. Then it makes easier to do the decision. You guys must have heard about Power BI, and it's getting a lot of importance. We can help you to learn Power BI also. We have started that. The reason why Power BI is getting so much of benefit now is because it's work like a dashboard. And companies now, these things are in writing. Imagine these things are in picture. We have tried to do that in the previous one. Or imagine it's like a video. Our brain thinks in terms of picture. If I say you an apple, if I say you grape, obviously that fruit is coming in your mind. So that's what Power BI does. Image, same thing here. You want to make like a dashboard. It's in picture, it's communicating faster. Instead of writing 10 pages, maybe in one image, everything will be done. So communication can be fast. Because when we communicate, the choice of words can also sometimes confuse the other person, especially if they are from different culture. Then cons: time consuming, complex for small projects, uncertainty, especially time consuming is that if you're doing a smaller project, no need to invest so much. This can slow down the process. Complex for small, it's too complex projects. It's ideal for complex projects, we can say. Apart from that, companies can use resource histograms like here. You see number of people required in each month. In March, April, May, we need the highest. Maybe this is where we are actually delivering, and June we are close. And this Jan and Feb is about planning. Then how many managers, business analysts, programs, and technical writers we need. These are just an example. Imagine the same thing if you want to explain. So histogram and all of this is again the same thing, visual thing rather than writing. So software can be used in planning, estimating, monitoring, reporting. Nowadays, for everything, we have a kind of software. Even for smaller businesses, we have got a software. For invoice, we have a software. For anything, we have got a tailored software. What we have to use? We have to use the latest software. That's it. It depends on our industry and business. And what happens many times, if you're providing certain service to your client, let's say you are B2B, business to business. If you have proper software, if you have data, if you have industry insight, you can always cross-sell to your customer. You can say, okay, I'm doing this service, but I can help you with the other service because it's complement. That will create another source of revenue and eventually profit, more profit. What is the advantage of using software? Just like any software, not specifically project management, improve planning and control, improve communication, quality, accuracy, ability to handle complexity, spatial complexity as we discussed. What if analysis, this is important. These are like a life. If something changed step 1, automatically it will affect on step 10. It's like live data. And most of them obviously now today is powered by AI. So it will be intelligent enough to guide us.
Mirza, is this a part of uncertainty? What if analysis? Because I learn in P2.
I mean, if you just go by the word, the same thing they used in uncertainty, what if, scenario planning.
Yeah.
Yes, technically yes, but here what they are saying, if one prospect changes it's not always uncertainty. In a normal situation also, let's say you have got extra resource, or sometimes something work in a positive way. Let's say the raw material what you are expecting, you are getting it at discount now. The oil prices suddenly reduce from the normal. Then how it will affect the project? Or government have eased down the employment regulations so that more people can get jobs, or they have reduced the minimum wage. Getting the point? If you ask me directly, is it what if and uncertain? Because no, the answer I would say no also. Because different words, or maybe same words also in different situation or different topic, it will mean a different thing. Right?
Yeah, get it.
For example, CIMA wants you to clear this exam in 40 days. Purposely, they are giving you pre-scene everything in a time frame. But imagine they have the same pre-scene for the entire year. They never change it. Then the entire project, what we are doing will be different. Isn't it? So here it's not about uncertainty.
Okay, now I got it.
Then timesheet recording is another part of it. In order to ease the project manager's burden of recording the actual effort, and revise estimate to complete a task. A number of PM software package allow this to be captured. Many employers. Did anyone of you do timesheet recording?
Yes, Miss. I was into timesheet and everything. Yeah.
Right. So how was your experience? Do you like it?
Yeah. Again, it's based on the industry. So we did not have much, cost allocated to buy good softwares to manage the timesheet. So we used to do manually by taking down like how much time the each employee spends on their project. So it was a bit time consuming, and yeah, yes.
Right. It can be good for the employees to see how much the other person is effective.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be irritating. For example, recently with one of my friends, he's working at Adobe in Ireland, and the difficult part was they're asking him to do for minute sheet also.
Minutes. Oh,
It's like a micromanagement. He's very much irritated. He's like, even for washroom break, tea break, I'm getting noticed. You should focus more on the deliverables, right? What is expected? I'll deliver it. So deliverables, if you're looking, that's fine. But if too much on timesheet, minute sheet, that can be a problem. So we need to do the balance. Everything will have a downside.
yeah.
Especially micromanagement, nobody likes. It's kind of irritating. Then determine requirements. Choosing project management software is kind of repetitive. Requirement, documents, shortlist. Ultimately, I would say in simple words, cost and benefit. That's the one sentence, everything is there. Popular, we have two, Prince 2 and PMBOK. I don't know if you guys have heard it. This is like globally famous thing. One is from UK and one follow your US thing. Both are good. Both have its advantages and disadvantages. Again, one thing is we are talking about complex projects. Therefore, this thing is coming. Imagine our company is small, like the previous case study, just in one country, one location. We don't need all of this complex. Benefits, standard process, simplified training, consistency, clear. Limitation, lack of flexibility, no one size fit all. Stiff-led innovation. Potential process overhead. So it's very costly. The client will be paying for the employee, right? Prince 2, what is Prince 2 project in control environments version 2? It's just the full form. Each process is defined with its key inputs and outputs in addition to the specific objectives to be achieved and activities to be undertaken. So here what they are doing, instead of looking for the entire project together, they are looking for each process. For example, now instead of looking for management case study specifically, here we are looking each chapter and what is the learning out. If you do tick this bracket one by one, eventually we'll reach there. That's how this Prince 2 is work. Obviously, it has its own point, deliver and agreed outcomes on time, within budget, conforming to the required quality standards. It has control features. This is the example of model. You don't need to worry about it. Case study is not required, but technically it's very complex and it works in a complex project. If you spend some time and read, I will share these notes with those who have not got it. You'll get an idea. But don't expect this in the case study, so no need to worry. It's simple only, but no need to go in detail. Then PMBOK, if you see on the other hand, what does it mean? Project management body of knowledge. 9 project management knowledge areas. Very similar to that, but a little bit different headers. Integration management, procurement management, risk management. So if you have something with the procurement, you are into manufacturing, then PMBOK will work. If you are into maybe service, the Prince 2 might be beneficial for you. So it manage everything separately, like human resource separately, quality separately, cost separately, time management separately. But Prince 2 was on a specific process. Here it's on different resources. The last concept can be, why do project fail? First is plan. Usually the planning is bad. Why do you think the planning is poor? If you have such a qualified people and they have resources, they have time. Normally, any company will have the at least basic resources, right? They are surviving, they have money, or if they don't have, they can always raise debt. Why do you think projects have poor plan? Hello?
Maybe because there is lack of research, lack of understanding of how to go about with the plan, basically. If they have limited
or
resources, limited data, maybe.
or a lack of experience or
Right.
new projects.
Yeah. Why there is lack of planning, sir? That's the question.
Or maybe the end agenda would not be understood by the particular
Very good point.
management. What exactly the project all about.
Objective.
So
Many times what happened, the objective is not very clear, especially with the operational team. Manager want to maintain confidentiality and they are not able to be very clear. Therefore, if you have seen, if you're reading textbook, any other textbook, usually in the start, they'll say learning objectives. Then they'll explain the chapter. I really like that. Why? Because they are making it clear what is the objective of that. Many times the session is about to end. Even in our case, if you don't know what is the objective, we have come, we have learned something, but what we achieve, we don't know. So when you're doing self-study also, you should know what is the objective. Even as simple as 1 hour. If you're giving 1 hour, so you can say in this 1 hour, I'll do this topic, this is my objective. And if you achieve that, your 1 hour is good. But in 1 hour, you do 5 minutes reading the pre-scene, 5 minutes, you're looking at industry news, 5 minutes of technology, you are wasting your time. So objective is very, very important. That's the ultimate thing. Then obviously on the other top of that, data is there, resource is there, lack of experience is there. What else you said? Motivation is not there. We are not paying good enough to the employees to take up the extra project. Incentives are not that much. Expenses not monitored, yes. And as we discussed, we're very optimistic in the start. But execution is where it's very painful, very painful. As simple as that, you promise that you want to exercise 3 days a week. It can be very difficult. Because we'll have problems, we'll have something else, and we'll end up missing it. Limited resource dedication, improper team, poor risk management, inadequate stakeholder management can be another thing. Ineffective communication. This is the most important, I would say. This should be number 1. This is the top. Then lack of scope change management we discuss. Inadequate progress monitoring. If you don't show the progress, the stakeholder will get demotivated. Maybe you're 90% there, but you should tell them, okay, you're 90%. So they'll get motivated. And obviously there can be so many more reasons. These are just some of them. For risk management process, we'll see in P2 in detail what is the risk. But for a quick overview, first we have to identify risk, analyze, prioritize. Risk identification itself is difficult. Again, how you're identifying risk? It is coming from the data, it is coming from the experience, it is coming from the industry, it is coming from the previous post-completion audit we have done. We have to analyze the risk. Can we put every risk into the same category? Imagine an intern resigning the organization and the CEO resigning the organization. Can both be the same?
No, it's a different thing.
Yes. So therefore, we have this probability, or we can say likelihood and impact. Based on that, we rank it, or we can say prioritize it. Management plan how to address each risk, how to resolve, how to monitor. We'll do a practical thing. we'll apply to this scenario, and I want you guys to work on it, then we'll discuss it. So anything come with the risk, we'll be 100% confident to answer. In fact, why we'll come up that with 30 risk list is because we have practiced in the past, and one of those itself will come in the exam. So you know the question also, you know the answer also. You'll be very happy and elated. Because our objective is clear, we need to get good marks, and there are a lot of predictable questions they can ask. If you work smartly, things will be very easy. Use a TARA framework can be used, transfer, avoid, accept. Some risk we transfer, let's say insurance. Some risk we avoid because we don't have that little appetite. Some we accept after we mitigate it. Some we mitigate, then after mitigation also it depends. We want to avoid or accept. Acceptance all depends on risk appetite. Same risk, all of us can take a different decision, isn't it? But usually whether it is personal life or it is for business, higher risks tend to give higher returns. Usually we think like hard works give the highest dividend, but that's not the case. Hard work, everything is there, but ultimately is the risk. But the problem is many times risk is glorified on social media. This person has taken risk and they can or they have become successful. But the hard part is 99% of the time the risk can fail, especially at the personal level. For example, nowadays startups and everything is going trending on social media, right? These people left the job, high-paying job, and they started startup, high-paying job. So people think if I just start startup, I'll be successful. But the probability is very, very, very low. It's not even 1%. So obviously, we have to be smart. Same thing with the business. If our competitors are going into something, for example, you guys, I don't know if you're aware, but I think I told last time, Amazon is into satellites now. They're sending their own satellite with the Project Cooper in low Earth orbit, LEO satellites that will provide internet like Starlink. So now the future of internet is not through this wires and all this. It's from the satellite. We'll have a good internet across villages, bigger cities and everything. So do you think eBay can do it? Other e-commerce platforms should also charge up and do that? No, it will be a nightmare for them. They don't have that much money, resources. So they cannot copy. And they should not. Contingency planning, we're discussing. Contingency planning involves considering alternative actions which could be taken if uncertain event occurs. Contingency examples they have given: contacting lenders to discuss possible additional finance. Usually we need more money than we plan. Replanning the remaining project with longer duration. Identifying if required materials are available from other possible suppliers. Let's say supplier issue happened, tariffs came in. What company did? They are looking for alternative options. The purpose of contingency planning is to avoid unnecessary delays in the project. The contingency plan may never be used, but we can do our contingency planning when it suits us. It may never be used, but still we need to invest money, resources, everything in that, so that we are ready. Dealing with risk and uncertainty when planning for time. That's where contingency planning can come in. And how detailed you are, things will be easier. If you're like, okay, I'll manage it that time. Let's say startup kind of attitude. It might work in smaller project, but bigger project, no. Even banks will not give you money if you don't have this planning. Or we can use certain technique like PERT here. What is PERT? We are project evaluation review technique. Key components, advantages, disadvantages. Basically, the detailed, or we can say very detailed analysis. Scenario planning is another part of that. Scenario planning, technically we discussed this, we didn't came here to this pages, but we already discussed. It's also kind of what if analysis. If you go to company's website of Shell, they do a lot of scenario planning, it helps them. Or we can say buffering time. Buffering time is like some extra time. But it should not be encouraged. Many times the manager and director, they are not telling this to the employee. They are just saying we are close to deadline. They're putting a pressure. But they know there is a buffer time. It's like being more practical. Or they can make a virtual chart like Gantt chart. Again, this is all of planning, I would say. More detail. Where we are. Plan versus actual progress also we can see. Okay. So we just have one chapter, that is leadership, that can be done in the next session. Any questions you guys have?
No, it's clear.
So I request you to read it again, the same project thing. So once you read, it will get freeze in your mind. You'll be very comfortable. Now you must be 80-90%, but if you read on your own, you'll get more confidence. Okay.